We're talking about the importance of bonding with your baby, and that bonding happens the moment of birth. And we have video evidence to prove that, don't we?
That's right. This video really shows that maternal-infant bond straight up the first minute or so. And it's because when a baby is born, they have a surge of adrenaline that keeps them so awake and alert, and they're so receptive to that bonding experience. So let's roll this film. It will tell the story, and then we'll talk about it after.
Cabeludo.
Beautiful. Oh my God.
What are you doing to us? Oh my God. That is so beautiful. It is just so.
Yeah, it brings us all back, doesn't it?
It sure does.
God, that kills me.
Okay, take us through. Just we saw this. I think it's quite literal to see what happens here. But what's the magic behind that?
Well, the magic is this is a time when a mom's hormonal preparation gets ready for bonding. So we make a hormone called oxytocin that helps us not only with labor and also with milk ejection, but also it warms the area around our breasts and really prepares us for mothering. So what you're seeing in this video is this baby responding to a mom's voice, knowing immediately that there's a calming and soothing person behind that, and not wanting to leave mom for a moment. So considering that birth is kind of a traumatic process, whether you're a C-section baby or whether you're a vaginally delivered baby, this is the beginning of healing from that birthing process, that bonding moment.
Why is that so important or critical, I guess, if you would look at it in that sense?
I think in all species, whether you're animal and certainly with human, bonding is so essential for survival. I mean, there have been studies that have shown that the power of touch is responsible for a healthier immune system for growing and thriving. And in this first hour after birth, that bond is sealed for a lifetime. And so to be able to have that time has become a priority now for many, many hospitals all over the United States. And so women and families are given what is called a golden hour right after delivery, where there's no intrusion with medical procedures, so that we can have that moment where our baby is placed on our chest, skin to skin, and that bonding process begins.
Far more important than the medical that would typically follow, that they're saying that now...
Well, if the baby's born healthy.
If the baby's born healthy and full term. So if the baby is put skin to skin, there are a couple things that happen. Number one is they're more likely to nurse successfully in that first hour. And for moms who plan to nurse, they are 75% more likely to be successful and have less problems breastfeeding. Secondly, if a medical procedure is done, like a heel stick or something like that on the baby, if the baby is breastfeeding and skin to skin with mom, there's rarely a reaction for pain. So there's something incredibly magical about this skin-to-skin contact that not only is healing for the birth process, but also really helpful with pain relief for the baby and for the mom.
And you say hormones are involved in this.
Hormones are involved. So this oxytocin that is made in a maternal brain helps facilitate a successful delivery, reduces bleeding after birth on the mom's part, warms the breast area so that it's receptive to warming the baby, so a baby can be placed skin to skin without swaddling and not lose temperature.
Right.
So we become an instant heater in a way, and this emotional reaction that happens during this golden hour also just helps facilitate that kind of reaction and confidence that leads to breastfeeding. And if moms choose not to breastfeed, they still have a very successful, intimate bonding experience.
When you say golden hour, is it literal an hour of time that window exists, or is it really moments and minutes?
I think it was coined after the golden hour in emergency medicine, where that first hour is so critical for doing the right things to ensure survival in an emergency situation. But if you look at birth as sort of a traumatic experience as well, that hour after, the way that we facilitate healing and bonding does make a difference, because then babies do feed more successfully. Mothers are more satisfied, less anxious, much more confident, and it accomplishes a whole lot. And honestly, in 1 hour, we can give up an operating room or a birth chair for an hour. We really can.
Even for a C-section, you're saying they're allowing that?
Completely.
I had 2 C-sections, and you're like literally strapped down. You can't even look at your baby, touch your baby for hours after.
Well, there's something now called a gentle C-section. And so a gentle C-section, you have to ask for it. And basically what they do is they'll drape you a little bit bit lower, leaving some room for the baby. And once your baby is out, if the baby's fine, they'll bring the baby right to you while you're still on the operating room table, and obviously with a little supervision around you.
Wasn't that the video that we
Yes,
saw? Was a
exactly.
C-section? Okay.
Exactly. But you notice that she didn't really have her chest exposed.
Right.
So with a gentle
head,
C-section, they're going to give you a little bit more leg room for the baby, and really allow a family to bond behind the drapes, because the doctors on the other side are sewing you up and making sure they're taking care of business. So you're using that time very, very wisely and beautifully.
Is more importance being put on this now? Because it seems like it's the way nature was meant to be, right?
Right.
But were we away from that, and now all of a sudden this new research, or is there new insight to this?
Well, there is research that is showing that this bonding hour, this golden hour, really does give a baby a chance to feed successfully. And I think successful breastfeeding is a big benchmark of how hospitals are asked to perform. So we have baby-friendly hospitals and baby-friendly environment right after birth.
Well, years ago, they wouldn't even let you, the fathers weren't allowed in the delivery room. You couldn't see the baby. It was the germs. They didn't want any.
We were busy getting the cigars pacing outside. That was our job.
No,
Put it on your apron too, right?
But it's funny that you mentioned the body, because when you're carrying the baby, you don't have you have an attachment.
Yeah.
But you know, you talk to your baby, and then the minute the baby comes out, it is an instantaneous thing, because now you're relating. You've been through this whole experience, and they put the first a child I had was C-section. I didn't see Catherine for 2 days.
Wow.
2 whole days. That was 34 years ago.
Mama.
But with Alexandra, talking to her all the time, when she came out, they placed her on my stomach immediately, and because I would always talk to her, as we all do to our babies in our tummy, I looked at her and I went, oh my God. And with that, there was a towel on my tummy. She took the tummy and she actually lifted her head and looked at me. And it surprised me what you said about how the babies are so alert, because I was so taken aback at how alert she was. We looked at each other in the eye, and to this day, Alexandra has that same crooked smile that she gave me when she smiled at me, and it was, boom, instantaneous.
Now it's that laser focus, and I've been in the delivery room so many times when, it may be a traumatic delivery or an emergency C-section, but when that baby pops up, and my son was a good example, he took one look around, he waited for one of our voices, and then he just calmed down. And so whether it's dad's voice, a partner's voice, anybody in the family that the baby's familiar with, they see, hear, taste, and remember in the womb.